Hey, Mudflaps here with another loot video. I noticed there weren't any overarching general loot guide videos out like the past phases all had, so I figured I could help add to the Phase 1 Wrath loot conversation. For some of the decisions made in the video, I consulted Sims, which could change, and I referenced different guides and different class discords, which are full of great information for all of these. And then for some things, I just made subjective determinations based on many years of doing this and what I think is sensible for rewarding players and passing out loot in a strong manner. Sometimes I may make a decision for an item that may not be best for someone personally, but conditionally best for the raid as a whole. It's always good to remember that it's a team game, and for me, I get very excited when my fellow raiders get upgrades because then we all win together. So, that being said, let's jump into what is the. It is called the Abom wing or construct wing, depending on who you ask, right? The Sash of Solitude. This would go to a disc priest. Resto Druid has options. They have an uncontested leather option off Malygos. It's better than this. The belt that they both want, that's the other, the cloth one, Heedless Magic, is that should go to caster DPS instead, and this is still very, very strong in lieu of that. Boots of Persuasion. This is, again, Disc Bis. This should go to them before anyone else. If anyone else wants it afterwards, it's not crazy for anyone else after that. This is Prio Disc. Belt of the Tortured. So rogues can use this. A lot of things say Ghost Stockskin Belt. Assassination could use this, but they are using 2-piece tier 6. Generally, most rogues should have that. If they don't, then they'll want this right away. If they eventually break the 2-piece, they'll go with this and maybe Sinner's Bindings for survivability reasons. But DPS-wise, anyone else that would want it, give it to them first. But a Feral generally wants the Thrusting Belt. Rets generally want that belt. Enhance could use this belt, but they have another Bis belt in this wing that they prefer. Boots of Septic Wounds. This is not that great. It's BOE, so you can sell it or buy it for an alt. Gloves of Calculated Risk. So these are good for hunters. In the same ballpark of the tier gloves and behind adroit, right? Eventually they'll want to get adroit, but until they get that, these are very good. Girdle of the Gambit. It can be an upgrade for your Resto Shaman, but they have a lot of better options than this. Crude Discolored Battle Grips. If your warrior is going for Frosted Adroit, this could be a holdover on the path to those, but I generally think that setup for warriors getting their 4-piece, if your arms, I don't think that's a good path because Frosted Adroit are probably going to be very highly contested from multiple specs and classes. Whereas going for something like Leggings of the Honored for the off-piece, very few people are going for those. You got your Combat Rogue and your Feral. You might have one of each. You might only have one total. So I would go the Pants route as a warrior instead of these. And I think that would be a very smart loot choice. Fleshless Girdle. So for tank pieces, obviously shield block, only 2 of the tank classes are going to get value out of this, but or the full value, that is. But for tank pieces in a loot council, you should have loot prios set up based on conversations you had with your tanks in advance so that you know how to fill the sets they are creating in advance. That's the power of loot prio. That's why this is so good. It's so helpful. Not freaking out the moment it drops and not knowing what to do with it, right? Wasting a lot of time in the middle of raid. Waistguard of Divine Grace. This is Holy Pally Bis. It's really good. Lots of spell power and haste. The crit is, it's good, but they want the other two stats more, and there's a lot of it on this. So very, very good for them. And as you can see, it drops in off of 2 bosses, which is nice. Now, for all of these necks and all of these rings, I have already gone over these in depth in the Spiderwing guide. So after this video, if you haven't seen the Spiderwing guide, go check it out. And there's a lot of information on those. I won't go over every piece that drops multiple times. That wouldn't make a lot of sense. And there's a lot of shared loot in Naxx. So sometimes, as you can see, these items drop off of 5 different bosses. So we're going to see them a lot. Surplus Limb. This is the Bis caster offhand if you need hit. So generally the Shadow Priest and Mage setups they need hit. Warlocks are going to need it until they get certain pieces. So you can give it to any of them that are in that position, but generally you'll just have to know where you're sending what loot to who so that their hit situation is figured out in advance, hopefully. But you can always adapt on the fly, and that is, again, the power of loot cancel. After a week is over, you can go through, if you're using like That's My Bis or something, and go through, see where everyone stands with things, see where they're weak, where they need things the most, and you can move things around to help players out. Totems, the Totem of Hex, Ellie, Libram of Tolerance, Holy Pally, Split Great Hammer, your Enchanter for disenchanting, Hero's Surrender. It's a good shield. It's probably on par with the 10-man Malygos shield, which are both useful in their own setups, but generally, the KT one is the strongest. Arrow Song, this is a good holdover ranged weapon until your hunters get the gun off KT, and if rogues or warriors want this because the hunters don't, it could be an upgrade, although most of them are probably going for like Spinning Fate or something, and then eventually the KT weapon, but they should be obviously behind hunters on that. Alright, the Cloaks, again, shared loot item that we've gone over. Check the Spider guide out for that, the Spiderwing guide. Cowl of Vanity. Not many people are going to care about this. It is a holdover until other things, but it's good. So if your Disc Priest or your Shadow Priest, or even your Resto Druid want it, anyone, it could be an upgrade for any of them on their path to bigger and better things. Mantle of the Corrupted, Mantle of the Fatigued Sage. These are both just hit options for generally a Shadow Priest. All the other casters are going to get their shoulders relatively quickly. I wouldn't worry too much about things where people are going to get tier, because tier is so easy to get. Tunic of Indulgence, a holdover item for your Ferals and Rogues until Recluse off of Malygos. Desecrated Past, maybe your Boomkin wants it, but not that good, not that good. Spalders of Incoherence, a holdover piece for your Resto Shaman until they get tier. Again, tier will come fast, especially Prot Token. The Fallout Impervious Tunic, Ellie Shaman. This is a really good piece, honestly. Generally, they're going for their tier, so they might not need this right off the bat. It depends, but it's a pretty good piece if they don't have tier. Slime Stream Bands, Hunter Bis, also Enhance Bis, but Enhance Badge Bracers are equal, if not slightly better than these, and not the same can be said for hunters because haste, right? So I would probably lean toward hunters with this. And once the hunters have it, you can give it to the enhance if the enhance haven't farmed the badges. There are a lot of great badge items for them to go for, but if the enhance farms the badges for these bracers, reward them somewhere else for farming. Take care of the players that are putting in the effort. The badge bracer from doing raids, but some raiders might skip doing 10-man. That's a lot of badges. That Blizzard has now implemented are the same badges as 25, right? So make everyone that's putting in the full time reward the effort, right? This is enhanced bis. This should just go to them. Chest guard of the exhausted. Again, tank shield block setup. You'll have had that discussion with your tanks. You'll know where to go with this in advance. Bracers of Liberation. This is good. I know that paladins want abetment because more spell power. You trade out the crit for more spell power, more haste. That is better, but until those drop, which could be never, these are really strong. We went 7 months of original Nax not seeing plenty of items. All right, so remember, RNG is real. The Girdle of Chivalry. So warriors would rather have the Resuvius one, as far as I can tell, because haste, they want the hit, but whatever. The Frost and Unholy Decays, they want this. This is a tough call. See, we've been giving Unholy so many things first. It could be time to give your Frost something, even though this is amazing for Unholy. So if you have both and Unholy's just been getting everything, then give to your Frost first. Figure that out in advance. But if not, if the reverse is happening, then this is haste. This is making that gargoyle the biggest pimp gargoyle he can be, and that's going to be very powerful in the first phase. The trinkets, they are shared loot. We have gone over these. Check the spider guide. Twilight Mist is a holdover dagger for Assassination Rogue. That's it. Origin of Nightmares. This is the Feral Tank Biz Staff. No one else really going to care about this. Just give it to them. Even if they're not planning on tanking, you never know, right? It's just good to have it. Plague Igniter. This is basically the same as the KT 10-man wand, but I know that if you're really, really min-maxy, people are going to want the KT one just a little bit over this one. So if you don't need the hit from the other wand, then this is going to be a decent option. It's basically the same as the KT1, but and you can't guarantee that 10-man one is going to drop. So you can take this in lieu of the KT1, or you can wait around. We'll see how RNG treats you. For Gluth, this is all shared loot that has either already been discussed or will be discussed in other videos. So that is how we'll treat the mega shared loot trash can boss. So every time you kill this boss, he's just going to drop something from other bosses off this massive list here. Thaddius, the Raps of the Persecuted, these are excellent for Disc Priest, although tier is just slightly better. So until they get tier, these are very close. These are very good. Cincture of Polarity. Oh, and to add something, no one else really wants these. So, again, Cincture of Polarity. Until casters get Heedless Magic, this is probably the belt they're going to want to go for. It's pretty strong. It has hit. Lots of casters early on desperately need hit. They need to find a place to get it. This is a great piece until they get Heedless Magic. No socket. I know they statted these Like, they gave extra stats to these, but it does not make up for not having a socket, not even close. They're just not good. Headpiece of Fungal Bloom has a socket. Cover of Silence could learn something from it. Okay. So this is pretty good for Resto Druids, but they have other options that are better that they're going to get very easily. This could be a holdover till then. Pauldrons of the Abandoned. These are pretty good for Enhance or Hunters, and again, Enhance want tiers, so it could be a holdover. Hunters would probably rather have the Sartharion ones and or tier, so nothing crazy there. Benefactor's Gauntlets, BOE. These are quite good. Ellie could use these. Even Holy Pally could use these. They're BOE. You can buy them if you want them. You can do whatever. But they're pretty good. Face Guard of the Succumbed. Palibis, really, really powerful helm. Lots of spell power, lots of haste. Crit is good. Not the crazy stat for them, but good. Yeah. And again, plate, so easy. Whenever it's plate healing stuff, it's like, okay, do you have that much to think about here? Riveted Abomination leggings. Unholy. Unholy will want this. No one else will really want this. And man, that's a lot of haste. That's a really good piece for them. So easy enough. Sabatons of Endurance. This is a great tank piece. You will have figured this out in advance. Divvy it as you will for your guild. Spire of Sunset is an excellent Resto Druid two-hander. It's the best as far as I know. Now, the setup with the torch and offhand is slightly better than this, but that is its own beast. If you're not giving Resto Druids that, then this is very, very powerful for them. So I would give this to them before anyone else, and then you can go from there, because it's a smaller thing for other people comparatively. So for tier, again, just to reiterate, you have 3 paths for tier in the first phase. You have 25 man rating, you have 10 man rating, and you have badges. Badges can get you all of the tier except your helm, and then 10 men or 25, you can mix and match. You will complete set bonuses with either one. So combining them, however, a hodgepodge will work, right? So if you didn't know that, it's that easy. And people who farm tier on their own time, outside of raids from quests and dailies and all that stuff, that's really helpful for passing out loot to the raids. So consider rewarding people that did that. So let's take a quick look at this tier. So Redemption Greaves, these are quite good. I could see prioing Pallies pretty highly on these. They use 2 and 4 set, and if you're trying to hone your raid to drop healers eventually, you're going to want to make your paladins very, very strong. So you want them to have the best gear they can have. Ret, there are setups where Ret could go for Leggings of the Honored instead of Frosted Adroit, but generally speaking, I believe Ret would rather go for Frosted Adroit as their off-piece, and this be part of their 4-piece for tier. Again, they can help themselves with tier eventually, but this piece is really strong for them, and I would consider putting them pretty high on the list because the stats are great, and their 2 and 4 set, they're great. So that is something to consider. With the tanks, if your main tank is a prop paladin, which many will be, this is a great piece, but they're going to be prioed probably on the Malygos legs, right? Well, not most assuredly. And that'll be their off piece, and they'll keep it forward. The 4 set isn't that strong. It's nothing to write home about. It's good. It's nothing to write home about. But that being said, this is one of those weird things where you have to figure out if you want to take a gamble or not, or use the way loot is guaranteed in your favor. So if you're just trying to gear up this tank no matter what, and you're okay with knowing that they're going to replace this immediately, then maybe you do give this to your tank first. That is probably a common scenario. So just something to consider. But if you want to take the risk and you're like, this is their off piece, we don't want to waste this, we need to pass it out quickly, then maybe you don't. But something to consider is that tier is just so easy. There's so much of it. It's going to come quickly. Consider all that when you make decisions. So the leggings of faith. So Disc have better options, but these are powerful. They are not probably going to use these for their 2-set. They'll have other options. But as loot is coming, you never know. You don't always just get full bis right away, right? Actually, you almost never get full bis. So that being said, they'll probably be high prio on their bis, so I probably wouldn't prio them that high on this. Their 2-set is good, but it's not like game breaking. The Shadow Priest, so as we've talked about before, their set bonuses are aggressively poor. They're so bad. This is statted fine, but they also have options that they would rather have than this piece. So I wouldn't prio them that highly on this. And then now you have another choice here. You've got your Af and Demo, who neither use this, but for Demo, it's a little more interesting. For Af, you shouldn't prio them this. They're not going to, yeah. For Demo, even though this isn't their bis, you need to get your 4-set on them as fast as humanly possible. You can't guarantee their off-piece pants are going to drop for that big piece. You can't guarantee that you're going to get conch helms your first week, right? So consider giving this to them, even if they're going to replace it, because you need to get them to the 4-set. It makes your raid so strong. It is so good. So that being said, the power of the way Classic works is you hold on to for 2 hours. You can see if the conch helm drops later after you're done clearing Nax, right? And then you could think about, okay, we didn't get a conch helm to give to our demo to finish off the 4-set. Let's just give them these pants, right? But if you did, then you don't waste them. You give it to somebody else who's deserving. So the pants, this is where earlier I was saying I think warriors should go for leggings of the honored for their off piece and go for the other things for tier. And this is kind of a weak tier piece for them if you compare to the other ones. The other ones are very good, very, very good. So yeah, I would do that. Again, if your main tank is a prot warrior, you have the same thing to think about as you did with the paladin about if you give this to them first or not. This is their off piece. This is where they'll use Malygos legs instead. Consider all the options. These are good for MM. They're good for hunters in general, but they have better options. Prot token will come quickly. You can give it to them eventually if you want it, if they're having bad luck with other things, but I would not prior them on this. 4-set is very, very good for Resto Shaman, so you have to consider giving them a good prio on this. This is a good piece for them, a lot of spell power and haste. So yeah, consider giving to Resto Shaman high prio for the prot one. The Ellie one, this is their off piece generally. It's statted pretty well. They don't need to get these set bonuses that quickly. They're just okay set bonuses. So it depends on the player with how much you want to reward somebody, but this is not an overtly powerful piece for them. But this is. So for Enhance, this is great. This is a really strong piece, and they need to get 4-set really fast because it's just that strong compared to others. This is really, really good. So I would consider high prio for your Enhanced Shaman. For Vank token, the Rogues, this is a great piece. The The Assassination Rogues will use this. The combat won't. They're going for Leggings of the Honored, but their set bonuses, their 4 set is okay. It's not that crazy. I wouldn't prio them highly on it. Unholy don't use these, but Frost does, and their set bonuses are quite strong. I would consider putting them highly based on that. And then for your Blood Decay, the same discussion we had with the other tanks. If this is your main tank, consider the options. This is their off. This is where they would put their off piece. For Mage, this is a very strong piece. They need hit. These stats are great, and their set bonuses are amazing. 2 set is really, really good. It's a free trinket, right? If you remember. And then 4 set is very good. So I would prio them very highly on this. Maybe top prio on this. Resto Druids would never look at this piece. They would probably vomit. For your balance, this is a good piece, but this is their off piece generally. So even though you do want to get them to 4 piece, you want to help them. If they've been helping themselves, you could help them. You could give them decent prio, but you have to consider that they're going to replace this in a perfect world. And then for Feral, Leggings of the Honored should be Feral prio. They shouldn't ever want to get these. And honestly, if you're doing 2 Drakes, then you're gonna see that loot really fast, because there's a guaranteed it's a 20% chance to see it every week. It's pretty high. All right, so then let's take a quick look at 10-man. So for 10-man, we don't do loot council. We let people use common sense and helping out each other. So that being said, the loot here, there's nothing crazy to talk about on any of these bosses. And again, Gluth does the same thing in 10-man. It's a bunch of shared stuff, right, off of everyone. And then Thaddius, the really big thing about 10-man is that you're going to want to do it because it gives you the 25-man badges, and you have another chance at tier sets. So that is the real reason or that's the main reason that 10-man is so great, even for 25-man raiders. So just consider all that. Yeah, so that was Abom Wing. Hopefully this helped give a little insight and some loot options for the first phase of Classic Wrath. I'm very excited. Keep an eye out for more videos, more guides. They'll be coming in the future. Please like and subscribe. It helps me immensely. And with that, I will see you on the next one.